Hi, and welcome to Albuquerque's Most Iconic Businesses, presented by Moji Cinema. I'm your host, Stacy Sacco. I'm the previous director of the UNM Small Business Institute, as well as having taught entrepreneurial studies at the UNM Anderson School of Management for over 20 years. And I'm currently working as the site mentor for the UNM Rainforest Innovation Center downtown, and actually UNM Taos Hive. I'm delighted to have Larry and Dorothy Ranishek from the Frontier and Golden Pride restaurants with us today to talk about their culture and practices that they've developed over 50 years of being in business. But first, we're going to break away and watch their origins film to see how the business was started.
On a typical day, hundreds of people line up to get their homemade breakfast, lunch, or dinner fix at the Frontier restaurant and at Golden Pride. After 50 years, these restaurants have become staples in the city of Albuquerque by consistently delivering craveable, delicious, homemade food quickly and at reasonable prices. This is the story of how Larry and Dorothy Ranishek have built their restaurants into Albuquerque institutions through hard work, innovation, and serving their customers, employees, and the community with love and respect.
I grew up on a dairy farm. It was a small one, but the job was to keep the cows milked, and so working 7 days a week was a way of life. So when I graduated from high school, I left for Austin, Texas, and started working for a fast food restaurant called the Holiday House. Management opened up quite quickly for me, and so I became a night manager in 3 or 4 months. Had a good mentor there that taught me how to deal with people, and so that's what started the food service career for me.
When my uncle opened a restaurant, he asked my dad if I could work there, and my dad said sure. So at 13, I became a waitress. Several years later, I started working at a restaurant at the university area that my dad knew the managers of. And it just happened that Larry came in and he asked for my phone number, but my dad didn't want me dating older men at that time. He was persistent. My dad finally said, okay. I went on to the University of Texas and he went into the military. And then when he got out, we still liked each other. And it wasn't long before we married and had 2 terrific children, Mark and Shannon. We got to know the owners of the restaurant across from the University of Texas. And so we'd become friends, and they were on their way to Taos. Bob happened to see this whole building was for sale or lease. So he called Larry about putting in a restaurant because he knew we were looking for a place in Austin. We decided, yes, we would make a big venture and move here to open our own business.
We ended up getting it opened by February 10th in '71. It was just she and I and one other employee that we brought with us from Texas. And we opened at 6 and closed at 5, and closed on Sunday, and of course didn't do a lot of business. In May, we decided that this wasn't working and we're gonna have to open up on Sunday and also till midnight. I was opening the store and closing the store, going home and taking a nap in the afternoon, and it was not the best time of our lives. Fortunately, my brother Dennis was able to work the summer as our first night manager, and we were able to hire Pete Villegas. Pete became our night manager and worked up to general manager until his retirement after 50 years. We had to get enough volume into the store so that we could meet our expenses. And we accomplished that by June. We now knew that we were going to be able to make a living in Albuquerque. A friend of ours bought a building out on West Central. He said, I really need something in that building. So we said, okay, we'll go ahead and open up. At the time, we called it Golden Fried. Then we had an opportunity to open up another one on East Central. Then we located another store in El Dorado Square. Then along came Lomas. So all of a sudden we have 4 Golden Prides, and I just couldn't run all 4 of them. Fortunately, we had a really good employee at the time here at Frontier, Eddie Montoya. He's one of those people that just helped us in any way he could. We said, gee, Eddie, would you take on the Golden Fried at West Central? And he was good wherever we put him.
Both the Frontier and Golden Pride would not be the success stories that they are without their craveably delicious homemade food. Some of Frontier's signature items include all of their New Mexican dishes, made of course with New Mexico red and green chili, the Frontier Sweet Roll, their famously fresh-squeezed orange juice, and American comfort food. The Golden Prides are known for their breakfast burritos, fried chicken, and barbecue. Both restaurants are renowned for their fresh-made tortillas.
People start asking for green chili. Well, we didn't have green chili because Texas didn't have green chili, and there we had a chili con carne for our Fiesta burger, so that's what we had here.
I told her, you gotta have green chili if you're gonna be here in New Mexico. I'll bring you some green chili, and I'll be the first to admit it if you don't like it. I went and bought 15 sacks of green chili, and I borrowed 3 grills to roast it. So we roasted it all night, and Larry got hooked on it. So that's how the green chili started. I mean, the green chili is a humongous part of our business now.
That's how we got into the first phase of the New Mexican food. And so we said, well, we need to jazz up our breakfast. And so I had remembered the salsa that I had eaten in Texas. And so from memory, we started trying to duplicate that flavor, the onions and jalapenos and tomatoes and spices. And we'll say, well, since we're in New Mexico, we need to put a bunch of green chili in it. So we added a bunch of green chili, but didn't take the jalapenos out. And people really liked it. Now we have 2 kettles of the salsa in the condiment area. People just ladle it on all types of food. We just couldn't quite make these stores really gel. So in the later 80s, we decided we needed to expand the menu. Eddie kept trying to convince us we really ought to get into the burrito business. And I was a little leery of it because, it was a lot of work to put in the burritos in all the Golden Prides.
So he bought me a little hot plate, and he said, we'll see if you can do something with that. So I made some holes in the company van and put a sign on with an arrow, open for breakfast. I think we did $17 the first day. And we just kept at it, and well, it took off. And the breakfast is really what took us over the top.
People would comment to us, even if they're gone for a while, they come back and they get the food that it tastes like they remembered it.
Both the Frontier and Golden Pride are also known for continuing innovation and constant improvements that make their customer experiences as good as possible. For the Frontier, that includes purchasing nearby properties to expand their dining rooms, the kitchen, the commissary, warehouse, office space, and parking. They added the fresh squeeze orange juice in 1979, the tortilla making machine in 1989, and the digital display boards in 2000. For Golden Pride, they also improved the efficiency of their drive-thrus, which became especially important during the pandemic.
I've been here 42 years, and we've kind of grown up here at the restaurant. The building grew. We had to eventually move the roll production into another building. We have 2 to 3 people working over there all the time, where it used to be one guy doing all the rolls. When something comes up, we try to adapt as much as possible, especially as far as our business minds and what we do on a daily basis.
It's just been a team effort all the way around with everybody involved to make it happen. It didn't happen overnight. We still look at things on how to improve even where we're at right now.
Larry's basically raised his management team, And he's taught all of these things to us that we have absorbed into our everyday lives here at the Frontier.
The biggest thing that's kept me up to this day is Larry and Dorothy. They've just been super people to work with, always looking out for their employees. They've never changed. From day one, they're still the same. Quite a few years ago, Dorothy started what's called the Rolex Watch Club.
If someone stays for 20 years, I decided to give them a party recognizing their 20 years and a Rolex watch. To date, it's over 40 employees.
The Frontier family is all of us making it work. I just got lucky stumbling onto this place in college.
Larry and Dorothy are great believers in giving back to the community that has been so good to them. They have sponsored dozens of University of New Mexico presidential and athletic scholarships and contributed substantially to athletic and academic programs. The Reinasheks are honorary UNM alumni, honorary lettermen, members of the President's Club, the Pope Choice Society, and at the 2014 commencement ceremony, they were each awarded the prestigious degree of Honorary Doctor of Humane Letters. They're also generous and active supporters of Catholic education and of the Albuquerque arts community, both performing and visual. The works of local and regional artists that adorn the walls of Frontier and Golden Pride are a much noted and unique attraction in themselves.
We feel like this has been a life's work for us. And when you see that a lot of people enjoy what you do, we find that there's the satisfaction of doing something well.
We've just been very blessed. We came from very humble beginnings and we've had a great run, and it's just been so rewarding, and I appreciate all of our customers and especially our teams of employees. We have so many that we couldn't have done it without. We are also very thankful that our children, Shannon and Mark, are involved in the businesses and will continue the legacy of Frontier and Golden Pride.
So, if you're hungry for delicious, home-cooked food at an affordable price, served with a generous side of Albuquerque history and culture, come and visit the Frontier at Central and Cornell, right across from UNM, or the Golden Pride nearest you.
A few questions I thought I'd ask about how you got started. And one of the things that I've run into with some of my students at UNM is they sort of deal with, are they going to start their own business or buy a franchise? And in a way, I thought you guys could have bought another restaurant franchise and got started that way, but you organically grew it. Were there some reasons you went that approach? Either one would like.
So working in the restaurant for 12 years gave me a real good idea as to what the company I was with was doing, and we just took that concept and brought it here to Albuquerque and had the benefit that the owner of the company had no problems even with the recipes. But we modified a lot of things in the business just because it was New Mexico.
Well, you know what that brings up to me is a lot of businesses that I've helped start through the school, as well as other companies I've talked to, they get in a groove, like this is what we do and everybody's gonna love it. But from watching your origin story, there were several different points along the way where you really changed your ideas about what you would do and what you'd add and how you expanded the business, as well as opened other locations. So was that hard to do, or was that, that to me is about paying attention to the market?
Well, it did take some adjusting, as Larry said, because we didn't know what green chili was or red chili cream coming from Texas. So by implementing the green chili, I think that really helped our business. And now with the Golden Prides, I mean, they sell tons of green chili.
So the other thing that I noticed too about your business is that you're in retail, and a lot of retail restaurants, any stores in that area or businesses in that area, generally have a lot of turnover. And it was obvious in watching your origin story that you've had several employees that have been there 30, 40, 50 years. Wow, that's a story. So is it good hiring or good managing? What are you doing? If you were to give somebody advice about how would you start a business to make sure that you get that kind of loyalty?
Well, we think it's mainly that we teach them a system that works. And of course, most of the people have started with us as young people. And so they've listened. Our system depends on all the people that are working here to continue it the same way because it's too difficult to retrain all the existing staff. So we try to get them to come into our culture. And then, of course, we also try to pay them more than they would make somewhere else in the industry. So we try to promote from within, and so there are chances for them to grow. That is where we feel that we've tried to create some opportunity for them. And then the store has grown, and so their jobs keep getting bigger and bigger. And so they make more money, and all the management people participate in the profitability of the store. And so that is the biggest part of it, is to have people that have accepted your culture of helping other people that are working and can keep the team working together, because we are only as good as our staff. And so that's where we think we encourage people to stay and to really have career employment with us. But they have to continue to learn the more complicated jobs.
Well, and I've been in, I think, every one of your stores in the city, and I teach sales and marketing, and I would tell you that every one of your employees would get an A in my class. So whatever you're doing to teach them, it's very apparent they do suggestive selling, they listen to you, they tell you about new products or new things that you've got. So that I think that whatever it is that you did to start it, you've cloned that into the folks, or you're hiring the right people. So that's important, I think, on the front end of starting a business, is that you surround yourself with people of like mind or similar values. So another concept we talk a lot about is unique selling point, something that makes you different, marketing-wise. Do you have a unique selling point or something you do different? I mean, you're in one of the cities with the highest number of restaurants per capita or something, I think I read one time. And here you are competing in that marketplace, and you're doing very well. What is it that you're doing that makes you unique or reminds people of you? I can tell you what it is. I mean, it's the cinnamon rolls and some
I
other
was
things.
just going to say.
But is there anything from your side of it that you've tried to build into the business?
Well, the sweet rolls, we brought that recipe from Texas. And Larry's brother had that, and he allowed us to bring it. And I dare say we sell many more sweet rolls.
Well, you can get them hot or frozen. That's what I used to get from my mother-in-law. But
yes, take them up to Alaska. Our son goes to Alaska to work
my goodness,
there. He's a doctor up there too. And the other thing, though, is the tortillas. Now, at one time, we were using a mix, but then they decided to raise the price of the mix. So Larry and I came up with our interpretation or our own recipe, and we sell so many tortillas, oh my gosh. And we also have to furnish them not just for our customers, but for the Golden Prides, 2 of the stores we help furnish tortillas.
So I'd also be curious, when you started the business, one of the areas that I've always been involved with is the financing of businesses. I worked at West. So there's a question of how much do you go to somebody else and get their money, and then they can want to control part of your business. So how did you guys, if you don't mind me asking without revealing any secrets, how did you finance the business in the beginning?
Well, we were fortunate. I mean, as far as working for the other company, I was paid well. Right. And I was always making sure that we wouldn't spend all our money, because thing is that I was taught to be frugal, and this was a help because we had some money, but we were also had the benefit of a profit sharing plan with my employer, and we were vested at some smaller percentage, but we were able to cash that in because the opportunity of having your own business was a high priority in my mind. And so took the money from the profit sharing, some that we had saved.
And reinvested it.
And then we also had a loan from a local bank, which the person that owned the property guided us in with the bank because he was pretty familiar with banking here in Albuquerque. So he helped making sure I had the contact there. And so we had enough cash to get started. And then, of course, we did not get a big staff because we didn't think that we would be doing a phenomenal business to start with, and actually misjudged it to the level that we weren't doing enough business to actually pay the bills that we had. But there was enough reserve there, and we kept working, and we started with hours that we didn't have to have management because she and I were, I was the cook and manager, and she was the cashier, and that we had a couple of kids, but she still could help, and we had extra room so that the kids could play in the other storeroom.
Oh, what a fun place to grow up. That'd be great.
Yes.
So they did grow up in the restaurant, and so that was helpful. And I really do not, and if I would have had to take on a partner, I wouldn't have wanted to be here. It's just that independence of having your own business. Even the fellow that owned the property, we had gotten to know him quite well, and he would have been happy to buy in. And we said, no, we think we can make it.
So my background's always been marketing, so I'm looking at the revenue side of a business, but profit equals revenue minus cost. So a big part of really making a business go is that you've been very meticulous about your costs. So I was curious, you have all the different stores. Do you have one location where things come out of that so that you've been efficient about how you make or prepare your product? Is it do you have one location that becomes a hub for everything else? Or because you could have each store be on its own, but my sense of it is that you've got to be more efficient, you've got to centralize parts.
Well, we do parts. Like each store does not do the spice. We have one store that's like the commissary or the hub, right, and they do the spices, and they end up doing some of the concentrates. But then the individual store, on almost everything else, they do on their own. They have to, they operate with total independence on the ordering and the staffing. And then we do the sweet rolls out of the Frontier, so that is a support that they get. And the tortillas come out of the commissary for one store, and then Frontier supplies the other two stores. But the rest of it is done as an owner-operator.
So I did have one question for you guys. If and I loved always asking my guest speakers this, if we had Paul here at Moji Cinema had a machine next door where you could get in a time machine and go back in time and go to a class where you were 20, what might you tell yourself, especially a bunch of entrepreneurial students, some advice you might give them, challenges to look forward to, or opportunities, things where you might have made a little bit of a different direction? So it's talking to yourself, a younger self. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think the most important part is that you know the business you choose to go into. And you really should work in that business unless you're creating something totally new. You got to understand that you're going to need people. And the people are going to make or break you. And so you've got to take into account that you've got to be a good enough manager of personnel and that they will work with you. And sure, you have to sometimes you pick the wrong person and you find that they don't fit, but you have to go ahead and have the people to carry your culture forward.
So I want to thank you both for meeting today. I've always felt like I'm part of your family just because we go to your restaurant so much. And a lot of our celebrations will get you guys to cater the food. So you're part of our family in that way. And I think you're a part of the family of all of Albuquerque and all of New Mexico. You're great leaders, both in the way you run your restaurant, that example for others to follow that want to start businesses, but also your involvement in the community. Everybody I know who's in the art community loves you guys and loves what you've done to help make Albuquerque a better place to live. So thank you for your time, and thank you for being here today and being one of our most iconic businesses.
Oh, we're blessed. Thank you.